December 26th, 2004. An ordinary morning. People were relaxing. Children were playing on the beach. Someone was recording video. No one knew that in just a few minutes the ocean would kill hundreds of thousands of people. This was not just a wave. It was one of the most devastating disasters in human history. Early in the morning, deep beneath the ocean floor, near the island of Sumatra, something massive began to happen. The Earth's crust is not solid. It is made up of enormous tectonic plates that slowly move over time. On that day, something unusual occurred. The Indian plate began to slip beneath the Burma plate. This was not a single sudden movement. It happened in two phases over several minutes. One plate was forced under another and then suddenly thrust upward. In a matter of seconds, the ocean floor rose by several feet. This movement displaced an enormous volume of water. Imagine lifting the entire ocean even just slightly. That's how a tsunami begins. The earthquake that caused it had a magnitude of about 9.1. It lasted for several minutes. The ground shook so violently that it was felt thousands of miles away. But the most dangerous part was not the earthquake itself. It was what came next. The displaced water did not stay in one place. It began spreading outward in all directions. Waves formed, but not ordinary waves. These were long, powerful energy waves moving across the entire ocean. In the open sea, they were almost invisible. Ships far out in the ocean barely noticed anything. But beneath the surface, a massive force was moving at incredible speed, up to 500 miles per hour, as fast as a jet plane, and it was heading straight toward land. The tsunami reached the coasts of Indonesia, Sri Lanka, southern India, Thailand, and many other countries. Wave heights exceeded 50 feet, and this was only the beginning. At first, nothing seemed dangerous. The ocean was calm. The sky was clear. It looked like a normal morning. And then something strange happened. The water began to move away from the shore. Slowly at first, then faster. The ocean was retreating. Within minutes, the shoreline stretched farther and farther out. Areas that were once underwater were now completely exposed. Fish were left flopping on the sand. Boats were suddenly sitting on the ocean floor. People were confused. Some stood and watched. Others walked closer, curious to see what was happening. Many had never seen anything like it before. They took photos. They recorded videos. Children ran toward the exposed seabed. It looked fascinating, almost unreal. But this was not a natural curiosity. It was a warning, one of the clearest warning signs of a tsunami. When the ocean suddenly pulls back, it means one thing. A massive wave is coming. In some places, the water disappeared for hundreds of meters. In others, even farther. But there were no sirens, no alerts, no evacuation systems in place. Most people didn't know what it meant. And by the time they realized something was wrong, it was already too late. At first, it looked like a dark line on the horizon, unclear, almost easy to ignore, but it was getting closer, fast. Within seconds, that line began to rise, higher and higher. The ocean was not returning normally. It was building into a wall, a massive wall of water. The sound came next, a deep growing roar like thunder mixed with the force of a waterfall. Then it hit. The wave slammed into the shore with overwhelming power. Everything in its path was instantly consumed. Water rushed forward at incredible speed, crashing through buildings, streets, and trees. Houses were torn apart in seconds. Cars were lifted and thrown like toys. Boats smashed into structures and debris. The force was unstoppable. In some places, the wave rose over 50 feet high. Like a moving building racing inland, the water didn't just hit once, it kept coming. Wave after wave. Each one pushing deeper, dragging everything back with it. The ocean turned into a violent current, pulling debris, vehicles, and entire structures back toward the sea. Nothing stayed in place. The landscape itself was changing. Coastlines disappeared. Roads were erased. Entire areas were flooded within minutes. And then, just as suddenly as it came, the water began to retreat. But it didn't leave quietly. It pulled everything with it, leaving behind destruction, silence, and devastation on a massive scale. People were screaming, trying to escape. clinging to trees, rooftops, and debris. The water was moving with such force that it could knock people down in seconds. Many didn't understand what was happening. For most, this was the first time. They had never heard of a tsunami. Communication failed. Phone lines were overloaded or destroyed. There were no warnings. Early warning systems simply did not exist in this region at the time. After the first wave, people came out of hiding, thinking it was over. But then another wave came, sometimes even stronger. The water returned again and again, destroying what was left. The current was chaotic. Didn't just cover everything, it pulled people and objects in different directions, forward and back toward the ocean. Many became trapped in debris and rushing water, and escaping was almost impossible. The consequences were devastating. More than 200,000 people lost their lives. Millions were left without homes. Entire cities and villages were destroyed. Coastal areas were wiped out within minutes. In some regions, entire communities disappeared. Families were separated. Thousands of people went missing. The destruction stretched across multiple countries. Indonesia was hit the hardest, but the waves also devastated Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, and reached as far as the east coast of Africa. It was one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. The damage was not only physical. Survivors were left without food, clean water, or medical care. Infrastructure collapsed. Roads, hospitals, and communication systems were destroyed. And the most tragic part, many of these deaths could have been prevented. At the time, there was no tsunami warning system in the Indian Ocean. People didn't know the signs. They didn't know that when the ocean suddenly pulls back, it means a wave is coming. A deadly wave. After this tragedy, the world changed. It became clear the danger was not only in the power of nature, but in the fact that people simply didn't understand what was happening. Thousands of lives could have been saved if there had been a warning. After 2004, global tsunami early warning systems began to be developed. In the Indian Ocean, where almost no systems existed before, a network of sensors was installed. Special devices were placed on the ocean floor to detect changes in water pressure. They can identify when a tsunami is forming. Buoys were also deployed in the open ocean, sending real-time data. Now, this information is transmitted to monitoring centers, where specialists analyze the threat and can quickly warn countries. In many coastal regions, sirens and alert systems were installed. Evacuation plans were developed. Drills are conducted. People are taught to recognize the warning signs. The most important one, the sudden retreat of the ocean. Now millions of people know if the ocean suddenly pulls back, it's not just something unusual. It's a warning. It's a signal that a tsunami is coming, and you must act immediately, without hesitation. Run as far from the shore as possible and move to higher ground, because in moments like this, every minute counts. After the tragedy, the world changed. Early warning systems were created. Sensors were installed. Evacuation plans were developed. Now, in most coastal countries around the ocean, people know if the water suddenly pulls back, you need to run immediately.